Right guys, welcome back to the horror of video games. Today I'm talking about my hopes and predictions for Doom. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with my channel, I like to talk about horror games and the stories within horror games and the themes within horror games. My particular favourite games are Resident Evil Remake, Silent Hill 2, Fatal Frame, Alan Wake, these types of games. I like to look deeper into these games, so I feel this video may draw in people who aren't familiar with my channel and may not quite understand what my angle is and what the context is of this video, so I like to think a bit deeper about my horror games, and I hope to explain my thoughts a bit more about Doom in this video. I really don't have many worries about the new Doom game in terms of the gameplay, the arena style maps, the guns, the graphics, the AI, these kinds of things. I'm sure these things are going to be astonishingly good, and I can't wait to get started on that game. It looks amazing. All the footage looks just totally incredible. So my video isn't really about the positives of Doom. Now, this may seem very strange to anyone, but I thought some of the best elements of Doom 3 came in the audio logs. Now, why is this? Audio logs help describe the community of the game world. It helps the game become more immersive. It helps you understand the characters and their concerns. And also in Doom 3, the voice acting for these audio logs was superb. And I hope we get a repeat performance of that in the new Doom game. I feel if we don't have audio logs in the new Doom game describing the characters within the game world, the background and the context, I think this would be definitely a backward step for Doom. I think what I find surprising about the audio logs in Doom 3 was how good the voice acting was. And also, in stark contrast, how the protagonist doesn't have a voice. Now, I feel like the mute protagonist is kind of a relic really now in 2015, and I feel I really want to have a protagonist with a voice. Now, as far as I'm aware, I seem to believe that the new Doom game is based on Mars again. I might be wrong about this. So Doom 3 was on Mars with the scientific facility, everything goes wrong, the scientific experiments go wrong, and once again the portal to hell opens and all the demons come out and kills everyone. Fine, okay. Once again, the overused horror narrative device is used in Doom 3, and I predict that the same thing is going to happen with the new Doom game. It's a very convenient form of script writing, it's fine. If they do that again, okay, that won't be a surprise, but I really hope they try and do something a bit more with the storyline. In Doom 3, there were almost no characters, and also there was no interaction between the protagonist and those characters, so the opportunities for meaningful human moments was quite limited. And also, because there weren't enough characters in Doom 3, it didn't really allow many opportunities for any kind of scene of tragedy to take place. Now, what do I mean by a scene of tragedy? I talk about this a lot on my channel, about it's the emotional human moments, it's the conflict, it's the crushingly despairing, awful, miserable moments in horror games where something terrible happens and maybe your best friend dies, or your wife dies, or your family die, or some kind of crushing moment in the game which is heartbreaking. And this is what I call the scene of tragedy, where it's like the kind of emotional anchor of the game. It's like the central moment where the story comes together, and also the suffering of the people within the game world is personified by the death or suffering of a singular character. Now, a very underused element in Doom 3 was this choice that's presented halfway through the game, where I struggle to remember the details of this. Doom 3, I played it a long time ago now, but there was a moment in the game where you're presented with a choice, and it's, do you save yourself or do you put Earth at risk or something like that? And this could have had the potential to be a very interesting moment in the game, but they just didn't play on it enough at all. And also, I chose to save myself at the end of Doom 3, and there didn't seem to be any consequences at all for this choice. And I think great horror games present moral dilemmas to the player, and you have to kind of live with those choices, and those choices make you feel different emotions like guilt or these kinds of things. And I think the new Doom game, I would love to see moral dilemmas, choices, and what do you do, and presenting players with choices beyond the simple, do I jump here, do I choose this weapon, do I blow up this demon, you know, these kinds of things. And once again, I have no worries about the gameplay. It looks amazing, really. I just can't wait to play it. But what I'm after is a more story-driven, more narrative, more characters, more voice acting, more emotional moments, more context as well. That's the next thing I want to talk about, is context For example, in Resident Evil Remake, you understand the motivations of the enemies, you understand the backgrounds of the enemies, because the zombies are scientists, and then as a result you understand where the hunters come from, and the chimeras, and the tyrant, because the scientists created those monsters. So all the enemies in Resident Evil Remake have a great context, and I'd love to see a similar kind of context placed into this new Doom game, but I feel like I'm not going to get it. From what I've seen, the level design of the new Doom game seems incredibly open as well. In comparison to Doom 3, Doom 3 was very claustrophobic, very narrow corridors, it was limited by the graphics of the time. I mean, the lighting engine of Doom 3 was very ambitious at the time, and graphically very intensive, so of course they had to limit the gaming environment to narrow corridors, which actually worked quite well. Doom 3 was a very tense game, a very atmospheric game. Yeah, so the environments look like massively different from Doom 3, which is going to be amazing to explore. So those are some of my hopes and predictions for the new Doom game. More story, more characters, more meaningful moments, moral dilemmas. I kind of want more from my horror games. I want a bit more depth to my horror games. And I think the new Doom game does have huge potential to explore these deeper themes. And for me, it's not enough to just go through a gore fest and just destroy everything and chainsaw your way through this enemy and blow this enemy up. It's not enough for me. I want more from my horror games. I want more depth, more meaning, more context, more emotional moments and stuff. And I know deep down I'm not going to get this in the new Doom game. It's going to be this brilliant action game with amazing graphics and sound and the level design. It's going to be incredible. I know it is, but I honestly think if they don't have audio logs in the new Doom game, it will be a backward step for the franchise. So, what do you think? Is it necessary? Is it necessary to have these story elements? Is it necessary for a Doom game to have meaningful moments? Maybe it's not necessary. Maybe the Doom community is fine with just an action game, that's fine. But what do you think? Do you agree with my points or do you disagree with my points? Please let me know, give me your feedback, it's most welcome. So this is the Horror of Video Games. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. See you next time.